All right, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to what has been one of my favorite parts of the conference. And that is the opportunity we have to hear some of the work featured in our award ceremony. Some of the work that has been published this year and has been the award winners that were just named a little while ago. I am going to step away and let Andrew Hall, who's our esteemed awards coordinator, drive the train. So take it away, Andrew.
Okay, thanks, Mel, and thank you for your year of leadership here. You've done a great job. We really appreciate all you've done, and we will be waiting for more, even though William's going to be taking over as president in the next couple of months, but you'll still be on the board. We look forward to working with you more in the future. Okay, well, thanks everybody for participating, and it was great seeing everybody at the awards ceremony. So I have a little PowerPoint I will share. So we don't have all we love our criticism and film and podcast people, but we didn't ask them to do readings. So we don't have readings from everybody today, but from a lot of our people who have awards. So let's start with Sunni Wilkinson with some poems from her collection, The Ache in the Wing.
Hey, thank you so much. I just wanted to thank you again for this opportunity. And someone else said that they felt sort of starstruck, and I do too. I'm so impressed with the other winners. So I feel like I'm in wonderful company and probably over my head. So I'm very happy to be here. As I said before, my book, The Ache in the Wing, is a book that has a lot of grief in it. It is about, there are many poems about our fourth son who was stillborn. And so I have learned that there are some of these poems that I just cannot read aloud. They're a little too hard for me still, but I've got one that examines some of that grief process, and then the recognition of grace still existing in the world, which of course, anytime you move through grief, you find that there is still grace and there is still beauty. So this particular poem is about a drive that my family did down to Mexico. And we did pass a city in Arizona called Why, W-H-Y, which I think is probably the best name for a city I've ever heard. I was fascinated by that. And then in the poem, it also refers to saguaros, those wonderful cacti that have so much personality, that are those chunky arms, you know. So a couple of references in there to those things. But this is called Don't Feed the Coyotes. A man stands next to his Harley and throws hot dogs at the mangy thing prowling the Conoco. They arc in the air and smack the concrete and roll, and the wild dog steps forward warily. We're on our way to Mexico, 10 miles past Why, Arizona, where none of my questions were answered. Why did our son, apple-cheeked, blue-eyed, 4 days shy of due, have to die? Why did I mistake the beginning for the end? Why is my body a decrepit factory, each machine slowly breaking down? Why can't Jesus come already? We're a mess. The world is a starving coyote, and my body the abandoned mine we passed in Vulture City, hardware quiet, rusting, deep down, a stillness. My body is that old prospector's shack no one lives in anymore, wood dry as kindling in 100 degrees. Saguaros raise chunky arms, baby-like, Buddhist monks blessing the cracked earth. I love their assurance, the yoga poses, the way they suffer, hold the good water close, wait. Creatures here crouch, desperate for life, the way a man haunts a mine on all fours, looking down into a hole that will ruin or save him. The way we did that long night in the hospital after the news. We looked into the whole of us a long time, fur-matted, heads down.
Sorry.
Something between prayer and a baring of teeth. We give ourselves to what comes just to stay alive. We read the signs like this one near the Conoco bathroom, don't feed the coyotes. Sometimes a child dies and living things are ugly. A scavenger begs, and in his ugliness, we see ourselves. It's tenderness that makes Harley Man lift his arm for a moment, saguaro-like, but soft, and fling that last hot dog like a blessing. So that one is specifically about our son. And then this one is just about the difficulty of being a mother. I love it, but there was so much to it that I was not expecting, which I'm sure every mother could say that. So this one is called So Long. On the road that opens to mountains and snow, away from the houses cramped in their quarters, like too many socks in a drawer, the eye of the eye inside me opens. All the years of children I loved and feared would kill me, not their brightness or the electric thrill of their skin next to mine, not even the crying that pried me from sleep, but the dormancy of a wild inner life I loved and knew well. To survive, it left me. I cared then for other wild things. Now, in silence, it's returning. I turn a corner to a doe and two fawns. I know you. I too live like this. The body and the spirit are a bicycle you ride carefully and uphill, and for how long? And I'll just read one more. Is the connection okay?
Yeah, sound great.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, I'll just end with one that is kind of an advice poem at the end of the collection, and it has a little epigraph from the book of Job. So it's called When It Comes. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. Job 3:25. Water the daisies. Watch the dirt turn dark with relief. Love the bees. Like you, they have names and middle names, memories, deaths. Open your hand to the tug and huff of toddlers. The macaroni on the table hardened to half smiles, half moons. Watch the fish rise from the lake of childhood. See how they're filled by the fruit of air. Refine stillness. Let the good milk spill. Praise each freckle, a star in a constellation of your vast, fleshy galaxy. Thank it, what eats your heart into grave simplicity, leaving it easy to pack, the pit of a plum. Guard your true promise, be lucid and wide, animal soft, full as a bride. What matters is nearly invisible. Search for it, snout-like, close to the ground, bloodhound sharp, and howl. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you very much. Hey, Kaela, I think you're not feeling very well. You said, did you want to go next maybe? And then we can let you rest.
That would actually be great. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead. When you're
I
ready.
took medicine, but that also makes you sleepy. So it's like, whoa.
No, we're such a great year that we were honoring all these Latin American authors. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Tennessee, actually. Born
Oh,
and
are you?
raised in Tennessee. Yeah.
I thought I read that you had Guatemalan roots.
Huh?
I thought I read you
Mexico.
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 Okay.
Yeah. um, yeah, so I'm just going to read the beginning of my book, Ciceros in the Desert of Souls. You will, I have lots of Mayan, Aztec, very mestizo approach to the world building in this fantasy story. So see if you can spot some of the some of the fun there. Chapter 1, The Criatura of Progeny and Stars. I was 7 years old when I met my first criatura. I was wandering through the cerros, the hills of the desert beyond town at night, barely avoiding low heads of cactus. In the dark, their spines looked more menacing than they did under the sun. But then I was a child. Everything looked menacing in the dark. I was lost. No matter where I turned, I couldn't see the light of town. The other children had left me hours ago. I should have gone home with them, but I'd wanted to watch the sunset by myself. I should have known better. It was winter, and with winter came danger. Not because of the cold, but because it was los mesas de la criatura, the criatura months. Since before I could remember, Mama had taught me the legends of the criaturas. They were creatures unlike humans, children of the desert goddess, who the great namer created from dust and words. Mama taught me the difference between animal criaturas, who were made to fill the desert, and dark criaturas, who were made to attack the descendants of the sun god, us. But her advice for dealing with both types was the same. You must steal their souls and command them to leave you, she'd always said, for you cannot outrun a criatura once it sets its sights on you. Her words seemed to wrap around my throat as I turned in the darkness, trying to find the distant outline of my town. Are you lost, human child? I gasped and whirled around, clutching my shirt. Out of the shadow cast by the hill, a creature slipped into view. She walked forward on legs of flesh, just as smooth and brown as anyone's in town. Her skirt was bright with reds and greens and blues. Her headdress shimmered with sleek owl and quetzal feathers to match, and its ornate moonstone beads swayed from side to side. But from the waist up, she was bones. My voice froze in my throat. Her face was a skull, her jaw hanging just slightly open as if ready to speak. Her eyes were empty black sockets, but I could feel them on me. I met their gaze, craning my head back in silent terror as she stopped in front of me. It was Tzitsimil, the criatura of stars and devouring, a dark criatura. Her lanky shadow fell over me in stripes, the gaps in her rib bones letting through beams of moonlight. Her jaw opened and a voice came out of the motionless cavity. You are far from your people. You are far from where your people dwell in the once great city of Tierra del Sol. Surely you are lost. Probably a good place to end.
Yay! Thank you, Kaela, for and powering through.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll look up your guys' readings later.
Congratulations.
Good night.
Okay, let me turn back on. So that was Kaela Rivera reading the middle grade novel winner for Ciceros in the Desert of Souls. Okay, let's go to Gabriel González Núñez for a reading from Estampas del Libro de Mormón. Gabriel, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It really is quite an honor for me to be able to read this here. I never thought I'd be at this place. So what I'm going to do is Estampas del Libro de Mormón is a collection of like short, sort of first-person biographical notes of different Book of Mormon characters. So I'm going to read 3 of them. And I'm going to read them in Spanish, and then on screen you'll be able to see them in English. So the first one is called Ley. La gloria de Dios me ha encandilado los ojos. Grandes cosas me ha mostrado el Santísimo. A la sombra del templo clamé a él por el bienestar de mi pueblo y me arrebató al concilio divino. Me mostró el rollo refulgente del castigo de Israel me mandó huir al yermo. Llevé allí a mi familia por la amargura de un camino sin rastro, impulsado por el viento de Jehová a mis espaldas. Me visitó en sueños luminosos y me guió a la luz de esferas asombrosas. Me dio deleites en el dolor. En la hora del llanto me colmó de esperanzas ardientes como el soplo del viento y la arena. Cuando los huesos empezaron a pesarme cual bronce, me levantó a la altura de los montes de una tierra prometida. Y allí miré y vi. Y las cosas que vi, hablé a mis hijos y los hijos de mis hijos. Cuando los ojos se me oscurecieron para siempre, vi columnas de fuego y en su relucir presencié a mis generaciones por siempre jamás. Ahora paso los días recordando las visiones y los sueños que Jehová mi Dios otrora me dio, escuchando las voces de mi posteridad, esperando descender al sepulcro. Soy Ley, el visionario. Okay, so that's the first one. That was Lehi. Now we move on to the next one. This one is a little bit harsher because it's Coriantum, right? Okay, let's see. Crujen los cráneos que se quiebran bajo mi calcañar cansado, fatigado. Solo siento en la lengua el sabor de la sangre que no sacia esta sed de algo que me sigue siempre. Estoy agotado, extenuado. Huelo el hedor de la carroña, de los cadáveres que caídos quedan como despojo al sol que se pone. Ya no queda nada, no importa nada. Estoy rendido, derrotado. La furia furibunda de mi enemigo no pudo con la formidable fuerza de mi brazo, y en el fuego de nuestro odio ciego ardieron ciudades, se quemaron campos, llamearon tiendas y se calcinaron ejércitos. Yo lo sabía, lo entendía. Imploré a mi enemigo que detuviéramos aquel incendio incinerador de vidas y porvenires, mas su aborrecimiento no aceptó treguas. Su cólera avivó en mí las llamas de un rencor que me recorrió las venas y vivificó el cuerpo herido y maltrecho. Ahora busco reposo, recostándome en la hendidura de esta roca rojiza. Cierro los ojos y me atormentan los cuerpos extintos cubiertos de gusanos viscosos, los rostros desfigurados de quienes amé. También lo veo a él, al maldito que me persiguió hasta que quedamos solo él y yo. Lo veo caído frente a mí sin cabeza, con la cavidad del pecho hundida, y no siento nada. Soy Coriantum, el último. All right. And now we're going to do the last one to sort of finish on a happier note, I guess. This one is Abish. All right. Tengo las manos ásperas, manos de criada. Mi madre imaginó ser reina, y ese secreto me lo susurraba por las noches, cuando nos acostaba a mí y a mis hermanos. Mi padre era siervo del rey, y cuando ella murió, él nos colocó a todos en el servicio de familias poderosas. A mí me puso por sierva de la hija del rey. Desde que tengo 6 años, soy las manos de la que ahora es la reina. Soy las manos que lavan su ropa a la orilla del río, que ordenan su aposento por la mañana, que cosen sus vestimentas cuando se rasgan, que peinan sus cabellos antes de que lleguen los invitados. Además, en estas manos sostuve de niña las manos inertes de mi madre que había cerrado los ojos por última vez. En estas manos sostuve, siendo joven, las manos temblorosas de mi padre, cuando me decía que soñando había visto descender en la casa del rey al Dios verdadero en forma de una serpiente alada y emplumada. En estas manos sostuve las manos de la reina cuando yacía como muerta en el piso. Sí, en estas manos, ásperas y toscas, estas manos hicieron que ella se levantara para proclamar la salvación del Dios verdadero que la había visitado. Estas manos sostengo ahora en alto, esperando la muerte. Son manos sin remordimientos. Soy Avis, la sierva. Thank you very much.
Yay, thank you. Gabriel, can you tell us a little bit about the genre that you're writing in?
So yes, thank you. It's it's kind of hard to describe. I want to call them vignettes, but they're not really vignettes. They're sort of like little stories, life stories. A lot of times they're specific events, but they might be longer. So in this case, I had read a book called Estampas de la Biblia, which did this same thing for Bible characters. And I thought, this is really cool. I wish I would have written this. And then, of course, that led me to writing them about Book of Mormon characters. But they're sort of like imagined mini biographies inspired by these characters from the Book of Mormon in first person.
And Eric says the translations, he was impressed by the translations. He loved hearing your voice, how you could do different characters. You should do audiobooks, he said. And so he said, with these translations, does that mean a full translation of the book is coming?
Well, thank you, Eric. It's not in my plans right now. I just did these translations for this reading tonight. It's maybe something down the line, but right now I'm so busy with other projects that it's something that's sort of forever in the back burner.
Eric also asks, in the English, the remarkable vision is ambiguous. Did her father have the vision, or did Abish have it of her father? Does that ambiguity exist in the Spanish Book of Mormon?
Okay, so I guess that's
ambiguities.
Yeah. I guess that's a bad translation then. No, in the Spanish, it's her father telling her about the vision. Okay. Or at least that's how I thought of it when I wrote it. Maybe I need to go back and check in the Spanish again.
Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, I believe, so we're going to skip over, and Kaela already did her, so next we'll do Mario. So let me get the PowerPoint back up.
Okay. Okay, this is Amaliel, the main character in the story, facing his superior inspector Rachel. I will read it in Spanish. Amaliel se encontró sentado en la oficina de su inspector superior Rachel. Las miradas flamígeras e inquisitivas que le dirigía no presagiaban nada bueno. ¿Qué ocurre, Amaliel? ¿Ya no disfrutas de tus visitas al orbe? Solías ser uno de mis mejores hermanos castigadores, pero tu rendimiento ha disminuido notablemente. El enojo casi podía palparse desde el escritorio sobre la elevada plataforma. Nada, yo simplemente me pregunto acerca del hombre. ¿El hombre? Esa pequeña burbuja en el fango, ese alboroto en el barro que no significa nada, esa cosa, ese Adán, ese Domita, como alguien justamente lo ha definido. Sí, pero tu función no es preocuparte por el hombre. Es un antiguo hermano que ha elegido mal. Tú debes perturbarlo, afligirlo y doblegarlo hasta los límites permitidos, como lo has hecho hasta ahora. Cuando hacía falta arruinar sus esperanzas, ridiculizar sus sacrificios, ensombrecer su vida o torturar su mente, acudía preferentemente a ti. Ahora te has reblandecido. Ocurre que encuentro algo honorable en él y su vida difícil. Amaliel no podía apartar de su mente a Pablo y Elisa, aunque jamás los nombraría. Mira lo que llamamos el orbe, dijo Rachel, mientras bajaba de su estrado y le colocaba una mano condescendiente sobre el hombro. Mira ese frío planeta aprisionado en la vacuidad del espacio. Es un trozo de barro que gira disuelto en una gota de agua. ¡Qué gran plan! El hombre. Los logros que pudo haber tenido solo sirven para iluminar mejor sus limitaciones. De no haber sido por nuestro hermano Lucifer, el hombre aún sería un jardinero innecesario que pretendería cultivar un jardín desprovisto de maleza, cuyas plantas crecerían bien solo porque serían incapaces de crecer mal. Amaliel no respondió. Ve a cumplir con tu deber, como siempre lo has hecho, o deberé reasignarte a un puesto en los quintos infiernos. No creo que te agrade. ¿Quién ganará y quién perderá en el encuentro? Se definirá al final de los tiempos, pero mientras tanto debemos prolongar el juego. El hombre, me hace reír, sentenció el supervisor mientras volvía a su lugar e intentaba enfrascarse en la papelería que se acumulaba. Personalmente me quedo con el pulpo, que es tan inteligente como él y tiene más tacto. La infernal risotada que acompañó a este último comentario quedó resonando en los oídos de Amaliel mientras se alejaba. Estaba en problemas. Gracias. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to tell us about writing this story?
Sorry.
So do you have any story behind what inspired you to write this story?
Well, I will try to say something about it. It all begins thinking about how far the sacrifice of our Lord could reach. We think we can repent. We think we can amend our lives. And though we don't have a doctrine about it, I would say we don't have any similar to that. But I think that art provides us of a way to think about possibilities. I was looking in literature places where the hell was described. That's why I started with a line of the Divine Comedy. I also was looking at the Faust and other works, and so I started playing with these ideas and imagine how could it be.
Great, thank you. Eric said, one thing I admire about the story is how the horror and the humor lie aside each other. That is great how you are able to mix those so well. All right, thank you, Mario. So next we're going to have not a reading, but a performance by Christian Asplund of his song, I believe it's the title song of the album, Fragility. And it's Christian will be performing, and also there'll be a dance performed and choreographed by Kate Monson. So I'm going to turn off that share.
Hi.
Hi.
This will just take a minute to set this up.
I'll let the audience know too, on YouTube, there's a video that Christian and I forgot her first name, Sister Monson, created for this song as well. A really cool video, really well produced. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Kate Monson, that's right.
Well, thank you. I want to acknowledge the engineer and producer of my album, Rob Buchert. Can you come into frame, Rob? And then, of course, Kate Monson. So this is the title track from the album. It's called Fragility. And I get on. I'm using this crazy mic because I don't want a mic stand in the frame here, so that's why this is a little weird. I don't normally do this. And I don't have a huge voice, so I need a mic. I'm not like my wife, who's a opera singer. Other ways too that I'm not like her, but okay. Okay, let me make sure I have everything. That's going. Okay, here we go.
Yay. Thank you, Christian and Kate. Christian, can I ask you, and Kate, if you can go too?
Come on over.
So, Christian, you're a trained musician and scholar of music, but this award is actually for lyrics.
Yeah.
So you were trained to be, I don't know what kind of training you had in lyric writing, but you're obviously reached a very high level in it. What is your process when you write lyrics?
It's different. I mean, either it's different every time, but also I don't remember. You know, most of them are late night or early hours of the morning and just ideas. Some lyrics, sometimes I write the music first and then add lyrics later. But more often the lyrics are first and they're just sort of journal entries or sort of poems. And I work, when I write words, I'm more thinking about the sounds of the words than the meaning, to be honest. I mean, the meaning's in there, but the sound and the color of the language is what I'm kind of dealing with sometimes.
Okay. Can you tell me what the process was with inviting Kate to do a choreography with your piece and how you thought those worked together?
Yeah, well, I wanted to do some music videos because I love, you know, music videos, MTV style music videos. And then I immediately thought of Kate because some of my favorite ones have involved choreography. And I've worked with Kate before and she's awesome. And I know she's done great stuff with film too. So I asked her, I just sent her the whole album and asked her to choose a song she wanted to do. And this was the one she chose. And then we did this really cool video.
Yes, I really encourage everyone to see the video. It's really beautiful, really well done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is Darlene, the winner of the Smith Pettit Foundation Award for Excellence. Darlene, go ahead.
Thanks. So I have 3 short poems. And I just have to say it's so amazing to be among these people. Wow, that song was amazing. Okay, prayer language. We are to add est and eth to every verb, a tradition left over from a time when the words meant dearest, love of my life. Now they are meant to make the language holy, sacred, not secret, set apart like a Sabbath. Thou art. Apparently, I shouldn't love you the same way I love gelato or the call of a chickadee on a lonely afternoon, as if they weren't the same thing. At church, children and newcomers talk to you straight out, not yet suspecting how strange this sounds to us longtime worshipers. How exciting. Once they realize, they blush and stutter, adding letters indiscriminately. I'm done with it. It's like wearing boxing gloves for our thumb matches, God, and I won't have it. Thou art puts you in the sky somewhere, and the sky is only half the story. You are my hero and my nemesis and everything in between. You are my heartbeat and distant drums, my breath and the glamorous squabble of aspen and spruce on the mountainside. You abide like the sequels of blockbusters, all of them with you in the title. Return of, revenge of. You are subject and object, rain and blood, darling. This one is called My Body in the Temple. Halfway through this session, I become aware of a full bladder and nothing else. All that is holy is eclipsed by flesh. I pant in claustrophobia between the lady who snores and the gum chomper, suddenly surrounded by bodies. I remember how, during my last pregnancy, the gurgle of stomachs, the smell of the chickenola king breath around me, the man clearing his nose into his throat, sickened me to such devilish and frantic irritation I had to go on temple hiatus. Sometimes the body is too heavy. Like now, my bladder and overripe melon makes it hard to stand and suck in to allow the matron to pass me in the aisle. Counting minutes, counting stages in the ceremony, I pray an apology to the woman whose name is folded in my pocket. An ordinance requires a body, I tell her. This is what you get. When it's over, when I've changed clothes with sloppy rush and found the bathroom, I emerge so much lighter that this place feels suddenly airy and bright. I love this liminal circus, this foyer of glory smelling of polyester, so earnest, so strange. On my way out, I take my time, stepping tenderly around a bright spirit in an awkward old body, kneeling to tie her sister's shoes. And this one is called I Want to Be God's Backup Singer. I'm not fighting for the melody, Lord, but could I back you up? Just behind and to the left, could I wear long white gloves and do a little pointing? Big hair, big lashes, red lips. Let me doo-wop, shuffle, show a little leg. I'll take whatever part you need, scarf fluttering descant chime, or the support underneath, swinging low and breathy in the dusk. I can wail. I can arch and dip, looking knowingly down off that stage so that if someone happens to glance past the main act, I'll be there, sweet and solid as anybody's mama and lover and favorite easy chair all in one, fleshy and worn just right, and a little surprising. Don't need center stage, Lord, but let me strut with my sisters in sync, all swivel and sass. When you lift off, I want to be riding that jet stream coattail contrail conga line to glory, rounding the bridge to one more chorus, the one that brings us home. Thanks.
Yay. Thank you. So Darlene, we had a great interview with Angela Hallstrom a few hours ago. And so everyone, please go listen to that. You'll hear a lot about this kind of background, about the idea of having temple poems as a genre, which we had another temple poem there, and her use of humor in her poems, which we see a lot of. Thank you, Darlene. You're an inspiration to us. Charles, I'm gonna call another audible and do a switch because I think Charles is in Japan and I think he's jet lagged and it's almost midnight. I think if we don't hear from him soon, we're gonna lose him. So I'm the one usually in Japan and you're in America. We've switched places this week.
I'm here. I'm awake.
Oh, good. Why don't we hear from you next?
Okay. So I'm reading from a memoir. I thought I'd read something that would speak to the title of the book. So I'm a missionary here. Evening devotionals consist of an opening song, 2 prayers and a talk. One of the speakers, I think his name was Brother Honda, gives the same speech 3 times in 2 months. Each time he does, he repeats the same passage of scripture over and over. And the Lord called his people Zion because they were of one heart and one mind, and dwelt in righteousness, and there was no poor among them. What is Zion, I wonder? And why does this guy think it's so important? And then the haiku, horn-rimmed glasses, Brother Honda once again, Zion this and Zion that. Skipping ahead, I'm now married. I have a family. I'm living in Lexington, Massachusetts, and one day after church, one of my friends goes home to his family, and he has a heart attack and dies. And he, 2 weeks after the funeral, he visits me and asks me to take care of his family. And he asked me 3 times. And each time I tell him I will take care of his family. And then I finally realized, if I say yes to this man and I don't live up to my promise, things are going to be very bad for me. And so I'm thinking about it. I often think about why Carrie came to me. I wasn't his best friend. And I certainly was not the most righteous person around. There had to be a different reason. In the end, I think I can think of only one. He came to me because I was assigned to be his brother, his home teacher, his friend. That has to be it. Although many come to question the value of organized religion, and although some churchgoers don't take their responsibility to minister to others that seriously, the truth of the matter is that this calling to attend to the needs of others is far from trivial. By way of service, we become God's arms and hands. We are the way he exists in the world. Brother Honda said it well. The measure of our righteousness is how we take care of the poor. Modernity has eroded our sense of compassion and belonging, so much so that we no longer live with a vibrant sense of our connection to each other. Say nothing then of our empathy for those among us who struggle because of their weaknesses or because of the way society directs opportunities away from them. We already know, as the cultural critics dutifully articulate, that we suffer from anomie, ennui, and solipsism. Too bad more of us don't actually listen for the answers to our questions about why life is not better than this. And I skip ahead a little bit. Of all the things we can experience in this world, nothing compares to the feeling of helping others receive God's love. Of all the reasons not to sin, this is the one I find most compelling. Whatever the praises of the world, whatever the pleasures of the flesh, whatever relief we find in momentary distractions and indulgences, nothing compares to the simple joy that comes when we act out of compassion for the welfare of someone or something. At this moment of eternal grounding, we are allowed to get a glimpse of the wonder of all things. I believe this is the vision of Zion that Brother Honda wanted me to see, and I thank him for giving the same talk 3 times in a row. Zen teaches a similar lesson. In contemplative moments of nothingness, the limits of the self fall away. We connect with everything and everyone when a lack of distinction becomes our lived reality. We are open, welcoming, available, receptive, aware. We are fair, non-judgmental, and helpful. We are the sky and not the passenger flying through it. We are the ocean and not the tourist on the beach. From evanescence comes dependent co-arising. All things influence each other. All things are influenced by other things. Nothing exists in isolation. That being the case, we must try to live as well as we can because the bad things we do affect everyone and everything in a negative way. And our bad deeds flow out into the world like waves radiating from a pebble dropped in a pond. Thanks.
Thank you, Charles. It's a really remarkable book. It was one of the most spiritually moving reads of this last year. It really had a big impact the way that I look at faith and the way of this the kind of personal connection that you can have with divinity. You use haiku a lot in this book.
Right.
Why? What is it about haiku that you like? That works with you?
So yeah, I think haiku are an interesting form because if you're poet, you often think of yourself as creative, but to be a haiku poet, you try to be not creative. You try to simply feel the power of things around you and document the experience of coming to that moment. And so it's almost a negative kind of poetic approach. And what I like about it is the lyrical connection that we have with things. Joseph Smith taught that everything has a spiritual and a material aspect. And I think haiku allows us to gain access to that the spiritual aspect of the material.
Okay, thank you. We just announced yesterday this 100 notable works of Mormon literature, and I was not on the committee, but the committee reported the 100 works that they're going to want to the AML presidency, and your book was on it. And we all said, yes, that's a great book, definitely. And then someone said, wait, the rule says it only has to be books up to 2020. It can't be 2021 books. I'm like, oh, that's right. And so it got taken off. But next time the list is made, I'm sure we'll be on it. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay. So there was Christian. There's a slide from Christian's video, which again I recommend. There's Darlene. And next we're going to hear from Rafael de Lanza, who's going to read to us from his novel Eloise's The Long and Winding Road.
Thank you.
Let me play the slide. Okay.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, everyone. Not to move away from this spiritual and matter philosophical thing. I was wondering what fragment of the work would be nice to share with you today, and I decided that the very beginning of the novel was a great decision, because let me tell you about a little bit about this. We're not going to hear nothing about the stories that we find in the novel in these lines. They are ahead from this. And from the second chapter ahead. Why is this? I grew up as a reader, reading introductions like the ones of Edgar Allan Poe and Tolstoy, and they made paragraphs, whole paragraphs about some themes and some things that are not the very story or the story itself. And then I found Milan Kundera, who has this remarkable work, the unbearable lightness of being, and he has the first chapter about a philosophical. This is a philosophical disquisition about the coming back of the historical things. So I decided to start this book in this way. To take a little away the gossip flavored of the very the many stories that we can find there. So excuse me for this long introduction to the introduction itself. I'm gonna read this, and here it is. Somos seres escindidos. Ese es el gran diagnóstico de nuestra existencia. Sobre la vastedad de nuestro ser se cierne el poderoso e inminente golpe de hacha con que Hefesto partió la cabeza de Zeus, como una fatídica voluntad superna o como infernal capricho. Ya Platón ponía en boca de Aristófanes la etiología, no carente de humor ácido, de nuestra búsqueda amorosa. Hombre y mujer habrían sido en algún momento un solo ser, dividido por los dioses por envidiar su gozo pleno. Esa separación pudo comenzar, cierto es, con una leve hendidura como la que cursa a la mitad de un joven pecho femenino, y terminó siendo tan definitiva como la de un hijo que, tras nacer, no vuelve más a ser uno con su madre. Una brutal y profunda escisión es precisamente el extraviado y confuso estado que sume a la humanidad entre la unicidad y la multiplicidad, entre la integridad y la partición. Esa baja planicie entre la potencia y el acto, entre la aventura y la nostalgia, entre el pasado y el futuro, entre la entidad y la esencia, entre el ego y el id, entre el espacio y el tiempo, entre la vida y la muerte, entre el tiempo y la eternidad, en fin, entre el espíritu y la materia. De ese infierno topográfico, la única salvación es la añorada posibilidad de reunir las partes separadas, de restaurar su unicidad, de sanar su fractura, de restablecer sus ligamentos o por lo menos suplantarlos. Ligar, pues, los fragmentos para que no se pierdan el uno al otro. Ligarlos una y otra vez. Ligarlos y religarlos. That's the etymology of religion. Según el mismo Platón, nuestra alma está separada del alma suprema y aprisionada en nuestro cuerpo. La única forma de que obtenga su libertad es la muerte. Pero al morir, nuestra alma se escinde del cuerpo para religarse al Dios del cual se desprendió en un principio. La tradición cristiana siguió a Platón en esta forma de explicar la religión del hombre escindido de Dios, pero dejándolo todavía en calidad de espíritu, separado de su corporalidad material para siempre, aunque unido eternamente al Dios Padre. ¿Cómo es que un desprendimiento definitivo nos salva de otra separación? Quizás la limitada mente escindida del ser humano, reflejo de la naturaleza escindida en los dos hemisferios del cerebro, no termina por admitir que debamos permanecer escindidos de algo que ya hemos tenido, como el amor ideal, el placer intelectual y mucho menos de nuestro cuerpo. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. It's so I really enjoyed reading along with all these. My high school Spanish got me enough so I could kind of follow along as I went, and it was wonderful hearing all of your voices. Maybe so just briefly. So after this philosophical introduction, then we get into the main characters, and it's a combination of kind of present day Mexican characters in Mexico, and then going back to the Mexican Revolution, right?
Yeah, there are different stages in the past. There are like 3 or 4 generations. We can see a revolutionary stage in which I intended to homage Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude, and I very love that part. The main character of that story is a man named Mónico Rosales. I love him so much.
Oh, that's great! I didn't realize that. That gets me even more excited to read it. Now, James Goldberg translated these first 2 chapters into English. Thank you, James, for that.
Thank you.
And that's published in Dialogues. Everybody can read that there. Is there any hope for more translations in the future?
I don't know if I can tell.
I think that's a good.
I still don't know.
I have heard tell. I've heard
Okay.
a little bit of noise about that. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Let's wait for it.
Okay. Thank you, Rafael.
Thank you.
Okay, Rosalyn is our last. Here, let me turn on the screen one more time. Is our last one. Now, I was going to mention too with Kaela. Both Rosalyn's novel, which won the Young Adult Novel Award, was also won the Whitney Award for. Oh, I lost it. Okay, anyways, won the Whitney Award for Best Youth Novel and Best Young Adult Novel, 2 Whitney Awards, and Kaela won the Whitney Award for Middle Grade Novel. Now, of course, we have totally different judging panels, but that's great. It's interesting to see that agreement there. That everyone says yes, these 2 novels are great, are great novels for youth. So
it's especially fun for me because Kaela and I were both in the same. There's a Pitch Wars contest back in 2014. That's actually how we met. Was years and years ago before either of us were even published. So it's been kind of fun to be on that journey. My excerpt that I'm reading, I hope it's not too spoilery. I figure that a story about a young woman who wants to be an astronomer and is trying to get to the eclipse in 1878 is not too much of a spoiler in a young adult novel that she actually makes it there. But this is one of my favorite scenes from the book. One of the things that I was wrestling with was the conflict between individual ambition and community expectation, and between faith and science, especially for someone growing up in the 19th century. And so this is where this starts, is in the middle of the eclipse. At 3:31 p.m., the sun winks out. General Meyer calls out the time. A final brilliant string, like so many gold beads on a thread, spans out from the edge of the masked sun. Then even that disappears, and it's only the eclipse, a dark disk where the sun stood, surrounded by the narrow band of radiance that marks the corona. Extraordinary streamers, several times the width of the sun, extending from the black circle like white wings. As my eyes grow used to the darkness, stars emerge in the sky around the sun, stars that are always there but hidden by the sun's glow. 1,000 points of light touched by the spreading solar streamers, each one connected somehow to the nerves in my skin, so that my whole body feels suffused with light. Tears prick my eyes. I feel as I do when the Holy Spirit touches me, as though I stand before the altar of heaven, and only the thinnest of veils separates me from the face of God. I feel at once whole and insignificant, both found and lost before the immensity of space. A total eclipse of the sun. It's beautiful and terrifying, and I think my heart may already be broken trying to hold in all this singular moment. 30 seconds, Will shouts. I shake myself out of my stupor. I've already lost 30 seconds of work, but my fingers don't obey my silent command to pick up my pencil. The pounding in my head grows. Acid burns in the back of my throat. This is my one shot at capturing the eclipse, and I'm already failing. Rachel's white face flashes through my mind, followed by the elk charging beside the tracks. This is what I do in the face of urgency. I freeze. No, I can work under pressure. Think of Rebecca's labor, of Ida's birth. I can do this. I pick up my own pad and begin sketching, moving softly to quell the trembling in my hand. The coronal light, a soft, glowing halo around the sun, stretches multiple times the width of the sun. The streamers, extending at 45-degree angles, are longer on one side than the other, and I skip my pencil across the paper, trying to capture everything. Energy surges through me. I think of the scientists on the peak, of Edison and Dr. Morton and the others in Rollins, of the other scientists scattered across the length of totality. Once I thought of science as something that happened only in distant laboratories in faraway cities. But scientific discovery isn't limited to those spaces. It's happening right here, right now, in the very mountains of the West that are my home. And I am part of it. For so long, I have seen my life as a question of faith or science, as though choosing one meant abandoning the other. But I've just seen the moon and the sun in the sky at once, and things I thought impossible are beginning to seem possible. Whether Michigan or Vassar, the eclipse has confirmed for me that this is part of the life I want, but perhaps not the whole part. Miss Mitchell's question still haunts me. If you do not bring all of yourself to your work, what do you bring instead? In the Denver Library, I found a book that described old alchemical texts where the eclipse symbolized an alchemical marriage, the union of both sun and moon. For those alchemists, the sun and moon weren't adversarial. In their highest form, they were complementary. I felt lifted by religious faith and prodded by scientific questions, and I don't know if I can sift through my life and pinpoint the moment where they diverge. Maybe they don't diverge at all. Maybe they're part of the same vast system, but I don't see all the connections yet. Maybe I've been looking at everything wrong, seeing or where I should have seen and. When I watched the eclipse today, I wasn't a woman of faith or a woman of science. I was both. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalyn. Also, a real favorite book of mine for this last year, and I love the science in it. I thought you described the science so well throughout the book, but also this a girl from a central Utah, very small town, in a time of polygamy, and what kind of life she might have and what kind of ideas she might have. I thought that was a great description of all those things. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for all of your readings and for all of your great work. It's really something that enriches our lives. And good night.